The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
We are back in action on the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. It is good to be back. Took a little bit of a break. Wasn't entirely intentional, but I did take a little bit of a break. And we've got a couple of episodes for you. And we're going to start off with the Bonita Brew Fest in 2025. Now, we have been, or at least the podcast has been to the Bonita Brew Fest before. That was actually a guest spot hosted by our friend Joel, formerly of the Florida Man News podcast on the Florida Podcast Network. He was good enough to head out there because he actually lives in the area and cut some audio for us. If you are interested, I actually co-interviewed with him a couple of years ago at a few locations in Bonita Springs, both Ceremony Brewing and Hopsize Brewing. And what's interesting is if you take those two breweries, they're basically on the same road, Old Bonita Beach Road, and right in the middle is Riverside Park, and that was the location for this year's Bonita Brew Fest. Now, it is put on by the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters, which has been a supporter of the home brewing and craft beer scene in Southwest Florida for as long as I could remember. And so we're actually going to start off this episode talking with John Newman, who's the president of the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters, kind of talking about not only their organization and everything that they do, but also the Bonita Brew Fest itself, who their beneficiaries are, and the layout of the event, because that is kind of interesting. So here we go. At Bonita Brew Fest 2025, John Newman from the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters. So, obviously, we are here at Bonita Brew Fest. Excited to get this started, but let's actually go all the way back and talk about the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters, because I was not aware that there was a home brewing scene and home brewing club here in Southwest Florida.
So, yeah, we are actually the second homebrew club in our area, but we were the first ones that were in Bonita Springs. We were established by Cass and Don, who actually ran a homebrew shop out of the area as well, too. And both of them got together and established this club about 10, 11 years ago. And they helped build us as a nonprofit, as we grew new members and began to actually try to educate our community about beer, to grow the homebrew scene, and just make this something, special for our area.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head for my next couple questions, because obviously a homebrew scene sort of grows as a brewery scene grows. So can you tell us a little bit about how you have seen the Southwest Florida, Lee County, Bonita Springs in general, craft beer scene grow over the past couple of years?
Oh, it's exploded. So 11 years ago, we had two breweries. We had Fort Myers Brewing and Point Ybel. Both fantastic breweries. Shortly after that, then we saw a growth and explosion of breweries like Scotty's Bierwerks out near North Fort Myers. We had Coastal Dayz and Millennial near downtown Fort Myers. And then, we started seeing a lot of growth down here in Bonita as well, too, especially now with Ceremony Brewing, Hopsize Brewing, Chubby Mermaid, 3 breweries just popping up all within about 5 miles of each other, give or take. And we got down south in Naples, we have the newest one, Kaleidoscope Brewing, which took over the old Riptide.
Which is funny because that's William Vaughn. That's who used to be the brewer over at Bonehook.
Yep. Bill Vaughn is Bonehook's old brewer, took over the old Riptide space, which Riptide now has the old Momentum space in Bonita.
we were just talking about.
Yep.
So obviously that's the, I hate to use this word, professional side. As the brewery side has grown, how have you seen the homebrew side of this area grow?
So from the homebrewing side, there's two big home brewers. We have ourselves, the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters, and we also have Hangar 41 up in Fort Myers. And, of course, the left-hand brewers out in, or left coast out in Cape Coral. They also are some a smaller homebrew club, but we see a lot of homebrewers definitely popping up, going to Time to Make Wine, which is where the homebrew shop is for our local area. And you see definitely a lot of people who are caring more about their product, actually like caring about water, especially in Florida, which has some of the worst water for brewing in the nation, but caring about, salt additions, RO water. So you see a lot more brewers who are more technical, more caring about it, and actually submitting their beers to National Homebrew Conference. Even some members of ours, Sam Percelli from Hangar 41, he had 2 beers who got silver, I believe, for the National Homebrew Conference. So we got brewers who are doing things very well and doing things that are very good.
That's awesome. And if you are living in Southwest Florida and you're interested in home brewing and joining a club, what can the Southwest Florida Brew Crafters do for the interested or budding or even experienced home brewer?
So what we do is we meet every Saturday morning. And since I took over, I try to make it a point to go to different breweries, especially ones that specialize in something. For example, I know Ybel, they do really fantastic barrel-aged beers as well as fantastic lagers. So 2 meetings we've had there. One was about picking the right barrel, picking the right adjuncts. One was about simply lager process and how to make that something important. And I think that's what we do, is that when somebody comes to our club, is we try to help teach them, like, where can you improve it? What do you like to do? You like the New Englands? Well, we'll sit down with Palm City Brewing, talk to their brewer, Bowen, about what makes a good New England IPA and how you can make your own one, but what tips they use. So the point is that we are trying to not only have you try and sample what is considered quality, but also learn how to make that quality yourself from these people who are making it every single day.
So I'm assuming you've had many, many home brews in your life. What do you think are some of the more common mistakes that the newbies do when first starting out?
The biggest mistake is always going to be fermentation control. That is always the first mistake, is fermentation control. If you are not somehow maintaining temperature of your fermentation, you will get either one acetaldehyde bomb that is filled with ALDC, or it's going to be something that is an IPA that is basically a brown ale.
Without going into too many details, I will go ahead and raise my hand with that particular issue as well.
Yeah.
And it sort of seems like, as I've spoken to many breweries and home brewers, that the breweries tend to also, as part of their duties, take on sort of a mage-like role with the home brewers, that they will come in and sort of try to help as well. Do you find the brewers here in Southwest Florida are very open to the homebrew scene and helping to improve and grow and give tips?
Oh, absolutely, especially because many of our brewers here are former home brewers. Zach from Ceremony, Vic from Hopsize, Jordan from Ybel, all were former home brewers and actually former club members of either Southwest Florida Blue Crafters or Hangar 41. So they understand that homebrewers want to learn, want to improve and grow, and if you bring in their product and what you made, they will be 100% honest with you. So yeah, they understand what it is, to be a home brewer and try to understand that you want to get better yourself.
That's amazing. Obviously, not all of us are meant to be home brewers, myself included, and so we've got amazing things like Bonita Brew Fest to look forward to. Can you give us a little rundown about how this event kind of got started and what was the impetus?
Yeah, so this event was really wanting to bring, the local breweries in Southwest Florida together, to make and build something, for the people here in Bonita, and to bring a big festival, because we don't really have any beer festival. Well, when it started, there was no beer festival down at the time. And so it was an idea to help put on a one-day event and bring forth this love of craft beer, and it's been going on for probably 10 years now as well. Like, it's a big event, and it's the people of Bonita look forward to it every year. You know, we have people who come down to Florida that want to take part and see the event for themselves, and they're visiting. You know, it's basically founded on the love of craft beer, and specifically craft beer in Southwest Florida.
And that's one of the interesting things that I noticed about the lineup of the breweries that are here is not all of them, but for the most part, it is Lee and Collier counties.
Yeah, so we obviously, you know, we have some of the mainstays. You know, we have Dogfish Head,
Funky Buddha's
the
here,
big people.
and
of course, there's some Tampa breweries like Berry House, Seventh Son, things like that. But we want, if you notice, we have the local breweries are right in the middle because that's what we want to showcase. We want all of our local breweries at the center in front of everything. So when you walk through it, they're all going to be right there in a big circle.
Okay, so it sort of radiates out. You've got the heart of the community right in the heart of the beer festival.
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. Who are generally the kind of people that come to this event? Because some beer festivals you go to, it's a drunk fest and the people are there to ask for the highest ABV possible to not feel their feet. And some people are here to really learn not just about the beer, but about what is in essence a small business celebration. Who does Bonita Brew Fest generally attract?
This would attract, honestly, there is no one demographic it's catered to. It's catered to essentially the person who loves beer, the person who loves the local market, because we have a few local vendors here as well too. It's the person who cares about their community. That is the impetus of this whole thing, is community. So it's for the people who love craft beer. They love their beer scene, and they want to try their local beers. Maybe, you know, we got 2 new breweries. We got Swamp Cat, who's about to open in probably a month or so, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. An old converted church.
An old converted church. MLK, yep. Drive by it every time when I go into downtown. Always looking forward to see the windows. But it's to come and try beers that you may not have tried. Brews you've been to in a long time, you know. For example, if you live down in Bonita, going up to Point Ybel, Coastal Dayz, even Fort Myers Brewing, that can be a bit of a slog, you know. That's 30 minutes, you know, just vice versa. So it gives you a chance to try breweries that you love, but you don't always get a chance to get to as well.
And you've mentioned Bonita quite a few times because obviously we are here in the heart of downtown Bonita, and you're even the beneficiary of this event is the Bonita Springs Historical Society. Why was Bonita so important to this event? So
this club is actually founded in Bonita, and, you know, we want to give back to our community. So in years past, we have used the Historical Society, and we have given a lot of money to them. And this year, actually, have a new sponsor. We actually are making our beneficiaries the Rotary Club of Bonita as well too, because, you know, when we talk to one of our members is part of it as well too, and we learned through them that any money we donate to them is matched nationally. So that means the more good we can do for the Rotary Club, the more good that can be done for our society as a whole.
That's amazing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Is that for all Rotary Club?
That's from my understanding, yes.
Oh my goodness. That just made like this event was great, and it's just going to be even better. That's amazing. And it is a gorgeous day.
Yeah.
So far. You know, got the food trucks going. Obviously the breweries are in the process of setting up. What are you personally excited to try from the people that are here today?
I'm always, you know, Jordan from Ybel was one of my favorites to go to. You know, I live out in Lehigh Acres, so it's always a bit of a drive to get into town. But so when I get to go to Jordan's place, I always love what he's got on. He's got something different on all the time. He's got a strawberry saison I'm excited to try on there. The English model from Kaleidoscope, I had it a few weeks back, and I'm always a sucker for an English model, especially after a good old-fashioned soccer match. Like, you know, I'm a huge soccer fan.
Okay, gotcha. Who's your team?
Arsenal.
Okay, there we go. I mean, as I'm wearing my my Ted Lasso shirt.
Yes.
I don't know if you like this or if
I
you're
love Ted. My wife and I were rewatching Ted Lasso for the 5th time, so it's
awesome. I am gonna start moseying around, and I will definitely be looking forward to enjoying this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
I appreciate
man.
it. All right. So just like John was saying, it is absolutely correct in that the ring around the perimeter was where a lot of the non-Southwest Florida breweries landed, but in the center were 2 rows of 8 tents each. All of those breweries, including, I mentioned Ceremony, I mentioned Hop-Sized, we just had Chubby Mermaid on the podcast. All of those Lee and Collier County breweries were right in the center, and they all backed up on each other in that little alleyway. That's where the real party was at the event, which is awesome. So I was there. I had my microphone, obviously, so I cut a little bit of additional audio. I tried to get some new voices on the podcast, and definitely people that you're probably hopefully going to hear on the Florida Beer podcast in the coming days, weeks, months, years. So we start with Chris Gutierrez. He is the CEO of Swamp Cat Brewing, which at the time of the recording had not opened yet in downtown Fort Myers, but as this episode is released, has opened. So you are able to go to their new location in an old deconsecrated church. Looks phenomenal. Cannot wait to go. After that is Bill Vaughn, who has been on the podcast before, but he was with Bonehook, who was also at the event when we interviewed him. He now has his own location, Kaleidoscope Brewing, which coincidentally is the former home of Riptide Brewing, who was also at the event. But we spoke with Bill. I'm sure we'll be getting him on the podcast again as well to talk about his new outfit. Then we chatted with Alex Tatko, owner of Coastal Dayz Brewing in Fort Myers, Jordan Weisberg, owner of Ybel Brewing in Fort Myers as well, and then Max Maldorf, who is the brewmaster at Scotty's Bierwerks and was clearly having an absolute blast of a time at the event. He was just a joy to talk to. Definitely cannot wait to get all of them on the podcast again. Jordan was good enough to chat with us when we were doing the Sunshine State Happy Hour on YouTube during the pandemic. And that interview is still up at YouTube, so you're more than welcome to go to our YouTube channel, which will hopefully be growing in the next couple of weeks. But anyways, so I apologize. We're chatting with Chris from Swamp Cat, Bill from Kaleidoscope, Alex from Coastal Dayz, Jordan from Ybel, and then Max from Scotty's Bierwerks. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. You enjoy. You're not open just yet. Not open just yet, but you've done the Southwest Florida beer scene for a little while now. How can you describe beer festivals down here in comparison to brew festivals around the rest of the state?
So I think Florida is really growing as far as, getting to be a mature market, beer market. And so I think the festivals here tend to be a little bit smaller right now, but they're starting to definitely gain a little bit of momentum. It's pretty obvious. Being a guy that was stationed on the West Coast for a long time, you go to San Diego, you got like 80 breweries and it's like crazy packed, right? I think Florida's still growing into that size, that scope. It's exciting to be a part of the beginning of it, though.
That's amazing. And obviously, one of the interesting things that I noticed about your booth, and you got a couple of others that are similar, Ceremony definitely, is you can't just put a table out. You got to accentuate. And obviously, with yours, you've got a lot of the merch and so on. How does that sort of help, especially a brewery in your standings to where you are not open yet and you're still trying to get the word out?
Well, it's a really good way for people to, identify with the brand, right? That's one of the big things for us is, having the people resonate with the brand that we're building, or Swamp Cat Brewing Company, right? And so having the merch there, people like to see the merch and they're like, wow, it's awesome. Oh, you guys are coming soon. Oh man, we want to get the merch ahead of time and be ready to go and excited to come see you when you're actually open. So.
And then how often do you have to explain where you're going to be, when you're going to open, what you're going to have on tap, so on?
Pretty much every single time somebody comes up to the booth. And it's like, it's almost like you could just hit a record and just playback button, because, everybody wants to know, hey, where are you? Are you open yet? And when you just have to let them know, hey, we're very close. We're a couple of weeks away from finally opening those doors. But, it's a very common question.
Nice. And then obviously with the beers that you are bringing, and it looks like you've got at least one beer that's ready to go, but we're waiting for another beer to sort of kick off tap-wise. Do you try to bring how do you decide on the beers that you really want to bring and focus to all of these people?
So it's really a combination of things, right? Like beer that it's going to be our core beer. We want to make sure we, have that for the people to try, because that's going to be beer that they can expect to have at the brewery every time. But we also want to be able to bring beer styles that are, lend themselves to the Florida lifestyle, the Florida, weather and all that. So it's important that you have some light beers as well, but also some interesting things in there for people to try that maybe aren't always common.
Gotcha. Obviously, I'm starting Pilsner. Nice and crisp and amazing. Is this going to be one of your standards on tap, or are we going to play around with this?
It'll be one of our standards on tap. Pilsner's just a really great quality beer. It's very crushable, but also flavorful, right? And so in Florida, that's what you want. You want crushable, but you also want flavorful.
And speaking of flavor, the one you've got a stout on tap that has. Go ahead and explain that, please.
So yeah, it's we call it the Buenos Dias Mexican Coffee Stout. It's sort of the beer version of a Mexican mocha, with the cinnamon in it and the cacao nibs. So you get that roasted flavor from those those ingredients. It's not you're going to be like your super thick stout. You could definitely tell it's a dark stout and beer, but it's just very flavorful, and it's just something I like adding some ingredients like that to make beer fun, right? And so I think it's one of the more popular beers. Whenever we have it on tap, people are at events, people are always asking for it.
That's amazing. Cannot wait for you to open. Obviously, we're going to get back there when that happens. But in the meantime, go ahead to your booth. It looks like you've got a little bit of a line growing, and yeah, congrats.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
You've become a major part of the Southwest Florida beer scene, I guess, and Kaleidoscope wasn't always Kaleidoscope. I guess give us the 411 on what happened there and with you.
Well, let's see. Bone Hook as production manager for 5 years. Was friends with Ryan Caruth that was doing production management at Riptide. And around May of last year, he said, hey, there's some interest in letting the original Riptide location go. And is that something you'd be interested in? And I said, I am absolutely interested in it. I just don't know if I can do it. And I talked with my partners, who are my sister and my wife, and we figured out that we can do it, and we did it.
It's got to be very different going from what you grew Bone Hook into to kind of, in a lot of ways, going back to basics with Kaleidoscope.
Yes, totally. Yeah, actually, it was a welcome step back. Bone Hook is a monster. It's a big production operation, and it was kind of holding me back in the terms of we had to keep the core beers going. So there was a lot of there was experimentation, but it was limited. Getting back into a smaller footprint in a smaller location and something that's completely under my control was for sure a welcome reset.
And it seems that almost very quickly you were able to really flex some creative muscles in a way that I had not seen before. What kind of experimentation did this finally allow you to do that having a much tighter, larger production scale didn't necessarily give you?
Well, funny thing is, it's less experimentation and more back to the roots. The funny thing is I kind of jumped into this thing and was like, I didn't even really have a plan for core lineup or anything like that. I was just like, let me just order a bunch of grain and throw some recipes out there. And what do I think people are going to want right away? Played it safe, actually, for a few of the first 5 or 6 beers. And then was looking at what wasn't being represented in the market that I liked. So hence my red IPA, Imperial Red IPA, a mild, a honey lager, things like that. Things that I needed to find my identity, rediscover my identity, and those are things that I like to do.
And I find it interesting that you mentioned the mild, because I'm definitely excited to go for some right now. It seems to be one of those styles that always has a very, very small but very vocal fan base. And I know, speaking to some of the people that are here today, some of your peers, they really like it. Why do you think that is for such a, I guess, unassuming style of beer?
Well, because I think it's because it's a dark mild, so it's got flavor. It's got so much flavor, but it's a 4.0 3% ale. It's light. It's easy to drink. It's session, but it's got the flavor. It's not 4.3% light lager that's got nothing. And not to knock 4.3 light lagers. I love them. There's a place and a time and a place for those. But a mild, Irish stout. I got an Irish stout coming up, 4.5%. Give me those all day long, baby. 4.5. That's a great wheelhouse to be in with flavor,
And you can drink those all day long. Like if you get a 10, 12%er, that's what, 1, 2, and we're done. Put me to bed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I've been re-examining a lot of that, and I need to think about the aspect of being the light lager. People have it. It's a 4% beer. You can drink 6, 7, 8 of them. You can only drink 2 9% IPAs, or maybe more people can drink more than that, but,
Awesome. Well, it's great to catch up with you. I definitely need some of that English mild right now, and we will talk again soon.
Please do.
And like I was just saying, you're basically right downtown Fort Pierce, and it seems like Fort Pierce, like that sort of area, has really become its own little brewery haven mecca in a lot of ways.
Yeah, downtown Fort Myers, we've had a lot of new breweries up and coming and everything, and it's kind of becoming a nice spot to go. So you can brewery hop and try what everyone is good at. Everyone has their different styles, so you're able to try a lot of different stuff without having to drive and travel far.
Do you find that there are certain beers that not just the people of the area really like, but sort of has the Fort Myers stamp of approval? Like you come to Fort Myers, everybody's going to have this particular style because it's sort of the regional specialty. Has that sort of grown yet?
I wouldn't say. I'd say everyone's good at what they do. Obviously, everyone's always still drinking hazy IPAs. Some breweries will focus on that. Some breweries like us, we have diversity. So we have 16 drafts. Pretty much everything's different. Like you're drinking the winter ale now, but then we have a lot of classics like a red ale, a brown ale, pretty much everything across the board. That way, whatever you like, it'll be on the list, and you don't put yourself in that corner. And I really don't see anything regional going on. I'd say it's more what the brewers for that place are good at, and they just stick to what they're good at.
And you kind of hit on something interesting, especially for this festival, because everybody seems to have a couple of nice standards, and then there's that one beer. Everybody's got the one beer, and like you said, with the winter ale, which is amazing. So absolutely. Do you find that the one beer, especially at Bonita Brew Fest, you still have to kind of stay within a little bit of guidelines, or is it really better to just go all out and the people that come are going to appreciate and enjoy that?
I'd say this festival, you can go all out, because this festival, unlike some of our local festivals here, it's more about craft beer in general and not just beer per se. So I'd say this one really doesn't matter. You could bring a barrel-aged stout if you want. You could bring a nice lager. You could bring a winter ale. You could bring a nice fruited sour. I feel like people look for that and appreciate it here, unlike other kind of festivals that we've done before.
Gotcha. And they'll probably kick around the same time, or will the specialty ones tend to go a little bit go quicker?
I would say it all depends on how much they brought, what they decide. Usually, I feel like this festival, everything's tapped at once. We don't have any special time tappings except for VIP, which is obviously nothing local here per se. But that's the more time. Otherwise, people just bring out what they want. Some people may have like a secret keg they bring out, but that's obviously totally up to the discretion of the brewery. And then, everyone gets really drunk later. So I personally would like people drinking and trying the stuff when they're sober and they can enjoy it. And then, because at the end of the night, they just start going to whatever's left because people start selling out. So I wouldn't want to hold on to that special keg.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I never really thought of it that way, which is funny. Do you usually get kind of a boost in business after a festival like this when you got people that are finding you for the first time and going a little bit north to search you out?
I'd say not necessarily. We're 50 minutes from here with good traffic. That's why we usually stay away from doing anything too south, because especially we do ones in Naples and they just tell you straight to your face, we're never going to come out. It's too far. So you kind of just it's a waste of time being out there unless you have a big distro footprint, which we're not into that. So I'd say you really don't see much. You see a lot of people that have already been to your tap room, which is nice. But a lot of people we'll give out cards to track if anyone's coming back in from the festival. We really don't get any return from it. Maybe, a small handful, but it's more about just coming together because this is all the local craft breweries. So it's just coming together, the camaraderie, showing what Southwest Florida has in this craft brewery industry.
Yeah, I was noticing with Bonita Brew Fest, all of the local breweries are literally in one giant strip. So it seems like inside this strip is where the real party is at.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then the outside we'll have our distributors and stuff that they might have beer that's further north of Florida. But yeah, the middle is where, is all your local craft beer. There won't be a tent in the middle here that's not going to be within an hour drive either which way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to the booth.
No worries. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time here.
How far are you from Bonita Springs? Because it seems like, speaking to some other people in this area tend to want to stay pretty local.
Yeah, about 35 minutes. It's not bad.
Do you generally get a lot of people that are coming in from seeing you at this festival, or do you get a lot of the opposite? You've got so many fans in the area because you've been around for so long that that tends to be more what you get, the people coming by to say hi.
Yeah, so we get a lot of that. We also get a lot from the Ale Trail. If they've never been or even had us here, they'll pop in from Bonita Springs because they were on the trail. But yeah, no, we have a lot of fans over the years. We were only one of two options, when we opened. So a lot of people did make the commute and have been coming to our place ever since. So 11 years, I guess, now.
That's amazing, 11 years. Congratulations. How has it been to see the beer scene that you were, I guess, an early godfather of really sort of explode?
It's been really cool to watch it, man. We got to be the front runners on a lot of different beer styles that people here, had only had lagers, light American lager stuff, and so when we pulled out sours, we were the only brewery making those at the time down here, so that was pretty awesome to see people's expressions. And making New England IPAs also, we were one of the only breweries doing that in this area, so it was cool. Things that I was interested in, and still do this. I still do it the same way, where it's a style that I'm like back into, or like our black IPA and things like that, things that you don't see anymore. It's like, I kind of miss that. I want to bring it out. And it just so happens that I feel like a lot of other people also missed it, because no one's really making them anymore. Everyone's focusing on New England IPAs or whatever else. So it's pretty cool to bring back styles. And it's almost like reintroducing people to this beer again, where it's been so long since people have, got to have them. So it's pretty cool.
Now that the tastes of the region seem to have changed, do you think that a new brewery coming in can get away with not having those beers on tap? Or have you all sort of changed the palate of Southwest Florida to now not only are those beers appreciated, but they're now expected?
I think depending on your location, it's a lot of what people are. It's what you got to kind of know what your clientele wants, and I think, and then the new people coming in are excited to try whatever it is we're proud of. So I mean, I make beers we like to drink. So
that's amazing. I will say it was interesting to see going in for a couple minutes several months ago, and it was jammed. It seems like you've grown the space, and you still can't keep up. Did you expect that 11 years ago?
That's always the goal, man, to get busier, to become more popular, to have more of a name for yourself. This is why we're opening a downtown location. So we're hoping by the end of the year we'll have that spot open. And this way people don't have to drive so far, at least if they're coming from Cape Coral or downtown Fort Myers. Now they can kind of just bike over to where we're at, which will be really cool, man. So that's kind of now the next part of our progression here after 11 years.
That's kind of amazing, because did you expect to be purchasing a chain when you purchased Point Ybel?
I don't know about doing a chain. Oh, I guess it is kind of a chain. I don't know. Having some satellite locations is the deal now for us, I think. I like the idea of not depending on accounts to sell our beer. I'd rather be in charge of my own success when it comes to that, because there's a lot of risk, especially these days, depending on a distributor or some account to sell your beer. What if COVID or a pandemic happens again? Like, now you're back to your accounts only, or restaurants are closed. Like, you got to figure it out. So for us, I think this is the way we're going to go. and kind of keep our distribution somewhat limited to other accounts and just kind of go to our own spots.
Will it be just a bar and the beer will be delivered from the main location that you have, the original location, or will this open up with its own brew system and be making its own beer for on-premises?
This will be a satellite location that does not have a brewery on site. So we're going to expand the brewery that we currently have, and then we'll distribute to our other spots. But yeah, maybe in the future we'll put a brewing system in some other ones, but the downtown location right now will not have a brewing system in it. But it is, it doesn't need to have one. We have a great brewery where we're at, and the beers can be exactly the same, just being sent over, a couple miles. So
awesome. When is that supposed to open?
I'm hoping by the end of the year, but how things work in Fort Myers and whatnot. We're just hoping we can get some inspections to happen when you want them to happen and everything else to go well. So hoping by my goal is November, but we have a lot to do. The build out's happening, but we have a lot to do. So
awesome. Thank you so much, and keep us in the loop. Can't wait for the new place to open.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on your cast.
You said right before we started recording that you love coming to beer festivals. It's a lot of brewers, maybe not so much. What is it about the beer festivals, especially the festivals here in Southwest Florida, that you enjoy so much?
So this is the first beer festival that we have attended here in Florida. I'm originally from Germany, born and raised.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah, I've lived here in the U.S. ever since after high school. I love Germany, but I wanted something different and came to the U.S. and studied in rural northwest Missouri. Met my wife there, and then after a few years, we moved down here to Florida. So we've worked a ton of beer festivals in Kansas City, but it's very different because you do a beer festival in Kansas City in February, like right now, here.
Everybody's going to be frozen.
I think next week it's -10 Fahrenheit. I don't think you're going to do any beer festivals, and even if you did, no one would show up. So we had no idea what to expect, but this is fun. There's so many people here. Everybody's so jolly, so happy. Talked to a bunch of cool people already, and we just got started. So, yeah, we just wanted to come and see what it's about, and it's fun.
How are you enjoying, just as a drinker, how are you enjoying the Southwest Florida beer scene?
I love it. There's so many different beers. I've had great Pilsners, and so I'm a brewer from Germany, right? So when anybody has a German beer on tap here at this festival, I need to try it. And not only am I from Germany, I'm from Cologne, Germany. So I like a good, how it's properly pronounced, Coach.
Coach, because I've obviously Kolsch is the common one. I've also heard Kolsch, but it's one more time.
Coach.
Coach. Almost like coach as in the handbag, but instead of an O, a U.
I've never heard that description, but that's very valid. Yes, I love that. And Ybel has a good Coach on tap here at this beer festival. And
it's funny, I just spoke to Jordan, and while I was interviewing them, I had their Coach. It was fantastic. What did you think?
I liked it. A little bit on the sweeter side, I think, but still style appropriate, very balanced, very crisp. I like it. It's very good. But so I've had, anytime I see a German beer on tap here, of course, as a German trained master brewer, I need to go try that. But any of the other beers, right now I'm drinking a Schwartz beer from Chubby Mermaid, very balanced as well. And that's really all I care about as a brewer. Is it balanced? Is it style appropriate? Is it tasty? Can I have a few of them? That, of course, only applies to anything, sub 6%. But no, all of the beers I've had here so far, really nice. I think we have a bright future ahead of us here in the South Florida beer scene.
That's great to hear. I mean, as I am trying your ultra German oatmeal stout, which is just
in terms of a German brew. No, I like it. Very, very oaty, I can tell you that.
Nice. Has it been kind of fun to flex your wings and maybe do things that are way outside what a traditional German brewery and brewer would be making back in Germany?
Chris and I have been talking about kettle soured beer. As a German trained brewer, of course, anything lactobacillus related that is not in a separate room that's hermetically sealed. I don't know if I can bring myself to it, but I'm always open to experimenting and seeing, what's that about? I've never done that. I want to try that. Let's see what happens. I think a lot of the stuff I've tried in my quite young professional career as a brewer has been in the procedural matters. Oh, how can we dry hop? How can we add hops here and there? How can we transfer? How can we dial this in? It's a lot more about perfectionism than recipe design so far, but I definitely am very eager to nail that as well in terms of these ingredients we can use at the very base level of mashing. But it's such a multifaceted industry from a production standpoint. I don't know if I have gone way out of my German roots so far. I don't know. It's a tough question to answer because it's such a creative industry. You can do everything in so many different ways.
Now, what's really interesting about this festival is all the local breweries are basically in one line back to back. And so there's sort of a alleyway behind them, which is kind of where the real party is, because you all know each other and you all are trying each other's beers, clearly. With a situation like that, do you find that you are looking at and talking to and developing ideas for what you can do for future recipes?
So, yeah, and the listeners probably can't see this, obviously. It's like a 2x8 tent situation. And right in the middle, where all the breweries are butting up, you have this alleyway where all the brewers are talking to each other, brewers and marketing reps and everyone working for the brewery. And yeah, we're definitely talking about, hey, we should do a collab. You guys and I think Swamp Cat and us, we're talking about, you guys are just down the road across the river. I drive by Swamp Cat twice a day on the way to work and back from work. And I've always wondered, that'd be so cool to collab with them and have a story to that location and get to know them better, because we're all in this together, and we got to entice the people to have tasty beers.
Awesome. I will let you get back to pouring beers and enjoying it. Looks like Bill Vaughn from Kaleidoscope is hanging out at Swamp Cat, so I'm sure you're going to chat with him. Yeah. That's the festival within the festival, it seems.
Yeah, it has been a fun time, and got to catch up with him.
All right, you have a good rest of your day, and enjoy the festival.
Thank you. You too.
So yes, there we are. It's exciting to go to a beer festival that was on in Southwest Florida. Not that I don't love those brewers, but it was great to get out and kind of stretch my wings. And it was a great time. Very well put on event. Absolutely fantastic. The crowd was super, super enthusiastic and super excited to be there. And it was great to support and promote Southwest Florida breweries and beyond. We're going to be back next week with a normal, traditional, let's sit down with some brewers at a brewery sort of interview, part 1 of 2, and you'll just have to wait and see where that is on our next episode. If you are interested in finding out, we are on basically most of the social medias. We're on Instagram, Threads, as at Florida Beer Blog. We are on Facebook as FL Beer Blog, still working on Blue Sky, still working on Mastodon. We are also available on YouTube. And the podcast itself is on Spotify. We're on Apple Music. We're on all the smart speakers. All you have to do is ask a smart speaker to play the Florida Beer Podcast, and off it goes. We're also on the interwebs at floridabeerblog.com and floridabeerpodcast.com. And when you go to floridabeerpodcast.com, you will discover that we are a proud member of the Florida Podcast Network, a collection of amazing Florida-based podcasts that you definitely need to listen to. And you can find more information about them and possibly see about getting your own podcast at floridapodcastnetwork.com, because Flintstone Media, the producers of the Florida Podcast Network, are an amazing all-in-one podcast production studio for you or your brand. You can also email us at floridabeerblog@gmail.com. Quick to answer and excited to hear from all of you. If you are following us on the podcasting app of your choice or YouTube, please do us a favor and like and subscribe and give us a nice 5-star rating. It definitely helps with all of the things that we needed to help with. Yay! Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Pekala. Our executive producer for the Florida Podcast Network and Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week, I promise. and drink Florida craft.